Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. For you guys today, I have a recruiting update. National Signing Day was on the 21st. A lot of news in the transfer portal as well. So I'm going to go through some teams, some individual players, and give a little update on them. First off, I want to talk about Alabama and what they did on National Signing Day. They kept five-star safety Caleb Downs. He was a long-time commit. They kept him in the class. They also kept five-star number one edge rusher Keon Keeley. They had a running back duo, two highly rated guys. In my opinion, they're two 5 stars, Richard Young and Justice Haynes. They kept both of them signed. There's a lot of talk behind the scenes about Justice Haynes flipping to Georgia. His dad played for the Bulldogs, but he ultimately stayed in the class for Alabama. The day before signing day, they flipped Caden Proctor from Iowa. He's the 5-star number one offensive tackle. So that was a big get. A lot of people assumed that was going to happen. No one really thought he was going to stay committed to Iowa. It was either Alabama or Oregon, and Alabama gained momentum late, ended up getting him. And then on National Signing Day, they went and got James Smith and Quay Russaw, the duo from Carver High School. They were a package deal. Alabama kept both of them home. Nick Saban landed a 5-star D lineman and a 5-star edge. Nothing new there. Then on Thursday of last week, Alabama pulled off a shocker, the most, I would say. But leading up to the commitment, this wasn't really much of a shock. There was a lot of talk going on. Oh, did LSU lose momentum? Yes, they did. LSU was the heavy favorite for 5-star corner Desmond Ricks. Desmond Ricks ultimately chose Alabama, joining the number one class in the nation. They're pushing for the number one all time. We'll see what happens here down the stretch. I was running some numbers on the class calculator. It's going to take probably some unexpected moves for Alabama to pass A&M from a year ago, but you just never know. Cormani McClain's still on the table. Remember, he's the 5-star corner. Committed to Miami, but he did not sign on National Signing Day, so that's definitely something to keep track of. And that's where I want to go next with this. I want to talk about Miami. Miami, they signed all their players in their class, all the players that were committed except one. As I mentioned, Cormani McClain did not sign. Colorado's pushing hard here. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that if Dion gives you a call, you're going to listen. And Dion has called Cormani McClain. He's been in touch leading up to signing day. And now in the week following, there's still rumors out there that Dion's trying to get him on campus. There's a dead period now, but when that opens back up for visits, he's going to try and get Cormani McClain on campus. Because Cormani McClain's never been to Boulder. Remember, Dion just got there, about a month ago or so, a little less than a month ago. And prior to that, he really had no reason to go out to Boulder. But now he does. Deion Sanders is the head coach. I think Cormani McClain is going to give Colorado a real shot here. They just got Travis Hunter, as I'm going to mention later on in the video. Want to play with great players? Cormani McClain on one side, Travis Hunter on the other. Sounds good to me. Next thing I want to talk about is Georgia. Georgia flipped running back Kyron Jones from NC State. Remember, they missed out on Justice Haynes. They did get Roderick Robertson, though. They got a kid from California, Lincoln High School. They got him to come across the country. But they went out and got Kyron Jones, to pair with him. And then one of the biggest signings of National Signing Day, they signed 5-star edge rusher Damon Wilson. Damon Wilson was down to a final two of Georgia and Ohio State. This was really a back and forth recruitment over the course of the season. There was a time Ohio State was the definite favorite. A lot of crystal balls in for Damon Wilson as the season started back in September. But as the season went on, Georgia gained momentum. He was at that Tennessee game, and Georgia hit it out of the park. That's really when Georgia took the lead, and they never let it back since. Next, I want to talk about Oregon. Besides Alabama, Oregon probably had the biggest National Signing Day, except one thing went wrong, as I'll talk about that real quick. Peyton Bowen, the 5-star safety, he flipped from Notre Dame to Oregon on National Signing Day. And that's why I said Oregon's probably the winner if this doesn't go wrong. But ultimately, the day after, he flipped his commitment to Oklahoma. Oklahoma did not have a hat on the table, but many people thought that Oklahoma was the favorite. No one thought he was going to stay committed to Notre Dame during his commitment. saw Oregon and Notre Dame. They each had a hat on the table, no Oklahoma hat. He picked up the Notre Dame hat, threw it to the side, picked up the Oregon hat, and committed to Oregon. The next day, he committed to Oklahoma, where everyone thought he was going to go. There's really no surprise there. Oklahoma ended up getting the 5-star safety. But Oregon, nonetheless, had a huge day. They flipped Jaden Lamar from Notre Dame, the 4-star running back from Washington. They went out and got a top 10 quarterback in Austin Novosad just after losing Dante Moore to UCLA. So they got their quarterback. Then they had Caleb Presley flip his commitment from Oregon to Washington, as many people expected. I think I talked about that on my last recruiting episode. I'm not sure. But many people thought Caleb Presley was going to leave. So Dan Lanning went out and got Dalen Austin, top 247 corner from Cal Poly in California. He signed. And then the home run that Oregon hit, they went out and got 5-star edge rusher Mateo Uiagalelei, the younger brother of DJ. Now, this was a big get for Oregon. Tosh Lupoy, he was the main recruiter. Remember Tosh? He was on those Alabama teams under Nick Saban, sending guys to the NFL. That was a big part in Mateo going to Oregon. But the biggest factor, Oregon was Mateo's dream school from a very young age. Many people didn't know that until he committed. There's a lot of speculation on why he chose Oregon, NIL deals, all that sort of stuff. But according to Mateo and the family, this was not about money whatsoever. And I mean, ultimately down the line, it's probably going to have something to do with money. But as Dan Lanning said on signing day, I'm selling my players on coming to play for Oregon. And Mateo, dream school, being Oregon, saw the opportunity, go play early. The Ducks ended up signing him. So, yep, Oregon had a big day. Next, I want to talk about Auburn. They also had a big day. They went out and flipped corner Kayan Lee and top 100 player Keldrick Falk. That was a big get. Hugh Freeze, when he got on campus, when he was hired, he said, I'm going to go recruit. I'm going to salvage this class. I'm going to save this for 2023 class. I'm going to go after some of the top talent left on our board, even if it's committed elsewhere. And signing day was a huge indicator of that. Got two very high impact guys that can come in and fight for playing time as freshmen. Texas landed Tausili Akana, who probably had the best backdrop of all of signing day. He committed out in Hawaii, his home state. He's a top 50 player, near 5-star status at the edge position. This was a big get for Texas. Yeah, in Oklahoma and Utah were battling out in this recruitment as well. That's probably the top 3, Texas, Oklahoma, and Utah. But the Longhorns ended up getting the talented edge rusher. He's going to be a guy who can come in and play early. He can pretty much do everything on defense. He can rush the passer, drop in coverage. He's really good in open space. A lot of versatility there. Penn State, they didn't make a lot of moves, but they kept their guys intact. They have probably the best offensive line duo, guard and tackle pairing probably. Miami, they have 2 5-star tackles, but Penn State, they have 5-star tackle Javen Williams and then 5-star guard Alex Burkmeyer committed, and both of them signed. So James Franklin keeping that class together. Nittany Lions are going to be really good 2023 and beyond. Texas A&M, they had David Hicks, the 5-star number 1 defensive lineman, committed. A lot of speculation whether he would stay committed and sign with the Aggies or flip to Oklahoma and Oregon. The week before signing day, during in-home visits, Jimbo Fisher got the last visit, and that's ultimately what sealed it up. He also took a visit to Texas A&M the weekend prior to signing day, and Oregon and Oklahoma couldn't get another say-in, couldn't get another visit. So the Aggies ultimately wrapped things up there, and they kept the 5-star defensive lineman in their class. So that's some of the main points I wanted to hit on signing day. Transfer portal, Hudson Card, as I record this, he just committed to Purdue. Big get for the Boilermakers. Wide receiver Dominic Lovett, he was the number 1 receiver in the transfer portal. He committed to Georgia. Now this kind of went under the radar in my opinion from what I was seeing on social media, Twitter, Instagram. This is a huge get for Kirby Smart. Georgia finally got an impact player on the outside. Ladd McConkey's good. The guys they have on their team, they're good right now. But Dominic Lovett is a difference maker. This is a guy you can give the ball to. He can create on his own, take any play to the house. And Georgia, Stetson Bennett's not going to be at quarterback next year, so breaking in a new quarterback into their system, having this an elite playmaker to throw the ball to, big get for Georgia. Western Michigan defensive lineman Braden Fisk committed to Florida State. He was a top 10 player in the portal. Many people thought he was the number one defensive lineman. Mike Norvell just keeps doing on the trail right now. Transfer portal, recruiting, it doesn't matter. He's taking a lot of W's. Florida State's looking like a top 10, top 12 team to start the year next year in 2023. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, they went out and got wide receiver Chris Marshall from Texas A&M. Chris Marshall is a 5-star receiver in the 2022 class. He was part of the best class of all time. He decided to transfer after 1 year. Him and Denver Harris, 5-star corner, they both got suspended and ultimately left the program. But nonetheless, on the field, Chris Marshall's a dynamic receiver. Something Ole Miss could use. They're a run-first team, but Jackson Dart coming back next year. Hopefully Michael Trigg can get healthy. Maybe get the passing game going a little bit better because you have Judkins in the backfield, who's probably going to be a Heisman candidate. So getting Chris Marshall just balances out the attack. And Lane Kiffin calling plays, nothing more to say there. Wide receiver Jimmy Horn from USF, he transferred to Colorado. And Shadur Sanders on Twitter called this before anyone. He said, "I can't wait to get up to Boulder. Our wide receiver room is going to change a lot here in the next week or two." And he was not wrong. Went out and got Jimmy Horn, dynamic playmaker, heading to Boulder. Ajayi Hall went back in the portal. Remember, he was at Alabama last year, or in 2021. This past season, he was on Texas, and now he's back in the portal. Who knows what kind of teams are going to go after him? There's obviously something going on off the field. I'm not sure what that is. But with that, I'm just going to say we'll sit back and watch. We'll see what kind of teams go after Ajayi Hall. He's obviously very talented. Maybe just needs some guidance. There's definitely going to be a coaching staff out there that's going to take a chance on a very talented kid. So we'll see what happens. DJ Uiagalelei, the Clemson quarterback, he's heading to Oregon State. Now, this is a big-time get for the Beavers. In my opinion, in 2022, this past season, they were a quarterback away from arguably winning the Pac-12. If not winning that, being in the conference championship game. This is a solid team, very good team, as we saw when they played Florida. I don't know if Florida wanted to be in the bowl game against them this year, but 30-3 or 33-3, whatever it was, man, Jonathan Smith, he can coach. He's probably the most underrated coach in the country. If it's not him, it's Kyle Whittingham, and they're both in the Pac-12. Maybe it's time to give some more recognition to the Pac-12 because Jonathan Smith can coach, and he just got his quarterback. You got the running back room coming back. Very good offensive line and a defense that plays very well, plays as a unit. Oregon State, definitely a team to watch. In my opinion, they should be ranked top 15 to start the year, closer to the top 10. We'll see how it happens. Nonetheless, big get for the Beavers. LSU went out and got Denver Harris, as I mentioned before, the 5-star corner from Texas A&M. He was part of the best recruiting class we've ever seen. He went to the portal. Brian Kelly picked him up. Big-time impact player next season for the Tigers. Look, Brian Kelly, he beat Nick Saban this past year, right? Why not do it again this year? Bryce Young's leaving. Alabama lost a lot of receivers to the portal. Not saying they won't get any, but Brian Kelly knows how to build a roster, and he's doing just that. Remember last year, I think LSU had like 50 scholarship players or something when Brian Kelly got there. And he hit the portal recruiting, hit it all very hard, went and got his guys, and ultimately had a very good season. Won the SEC West, went to the SEC championship game. Getting Denver Harris only enhances that roster. Travis Hunter, the number one player in the portal, leaving Jackson State, following Deion Sanders to Colorado. This one, I mean, you just really can't blow it up any bigger than it is. Travis Hunter is arguably the best player in the country heading into next season. Both sides of the ball. He'd be a top 3 receiver, top 3 corner. Doesn't really matter. He's going to go in there and change Colorado football forever, in my opinion. Him and Deion Sanders are going to lay out a blueprint for these next couple recruiting classes. Those two, along with Shadur Sanders, when these recruits see Travis Hunter on that team, they're going to be like, oh, I remember that guy from camps. I remember that guy from 7-on-7. I want to go play with him. we're going to see that. Cormani McLean, as I mentioned, is in touch with Colorado. I'm sure Travis Hunter is working the phones with Deion Sanders and Cormani, come play with me. I'll be on one side, you be on the other. No teams are throwing on us. So not only on the field, but off the field, Travis Hunter is going to have a huge impact on Buffalo football. And then the last transfer I want to talk about happened on signing day. It was later on in the evening. It was after like the main commits and signings. Ajani Cornelius at the time was the number one offensive tackle. He was choosing between Tennessee, Nebraska, Ohio State, and Oregon. He ended up choosing Oregon, going to play for Dan Lanning. Oregon putting together a solid offensive line transfer portal class. They got the number one guard at the time from Texas, and Johnny Cornelius now, transferred from Rhode Island. Josh Connerly, the 5-star offensive lineman from the 2022 recruiting class. So 3 big-time gets right there for Oregon. So overall, it was a great early national signing day. A lot of big-time players committing. Still some players to commit. A couple 5-stars, and we're going to wait and see what Cormani McLean does. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.